You just saw a glimpse of the hard work our student scientists put into their Science Olympiad seasons. It showed focus, collaboration, enthusiasm, and above all, a love for science and engineering. And that's what we see at every single Science Olympiad tournament. I'm Emily Owens, the state director for Virginia Science Olympiad. And whether you're a potential coach, a parent, or a student scientist looking to learn more about our teams, events, and tournaments, I'm going to give you a quick intro to what Science Olympiad is all about. Science Olympiad is one of the premier science tournament organizations in the United States and is an international nonprofit organization. We're devoted to improving the quality of science education and providing exposure to many fields of science, many of which students may not be able to take specific classes in during their time in middle and high school, but we can consider them to be extracurricular opportunities to broaden their knowledge in different scientific fields. We focus on coordinating with schools and meeting national curriculum standards. So even though the tasks in Science Olympiad may not be exactly what they're learning in the classroom, it's supporting their scientific growth along the way. It's important to know that Science Olympiad is not like a science fair. Students don't create their own projects. They're not collecting data over a long period of time to put together into a report like a science fair where they have an experimental setup necessarily. But they are working long term to prepare. It's just not in that traditional science fair format. It's not an emphasis on any one particular field of science. There are some Olympiads that are like biology Olympiad, chemistry Olympiad. And while we cover those topics, it's not the only ones that we do. We cover a broad range of science and engineering fields. And above all, Science Olympiad is not a competition for individuals. One of my favorite things about Science Olympiad is that it's team-based. I'll be focusing in this video mainly about divisions B and C, but I did want to go through the differences between Division A, B, and C, all three of which we have in Virginia. Division A is considered our elementary division, covering grades 3 through 5. They have different events and different rules compared to Divisions B and C, and in fact, VASO writes their own rules for Division A. We also don't have any pre-builds, meaning that they don't have to build any engineering devices in advance of a tournament. They definitely, though, have to do that in Divisions B and C. You'll notice that for Division B, it says grades 5 through 8, but grade 5 is also listed for Division A. Fifth graders have to choose Division A or Division B. A student can't do both in the same school year. And so if their school offers both divisions, they have to choose which one they're going to pursue. Division C is our high school division, grades 9 through 12, making Division B our middle school division, though in Virginia we have many elementary schools that participate in Division B, especially when they go up to grade 6. In Division C, our focus is on making it so that all grade levels can compete, so we set a maximum of 7 12th graders on a team. Divisions B and C follow the national rulebook that's put out by the national organization. So there are many tournaments across the country that happen that teams from Virginia can choose to participate in outside of the regional and state tournaments that we run locally. There's also a national tournament, which they can qualify for by winning the state tournament in Virginia. So, like I mentioned before, Science Olympiad is a team event. There are 15 students per team covering up to 23 events in Divisions B and C. Schools in Virginia are able to field up to 3 teams for our regional tournaments. And so that means that we could have up to 45 students participate in Science Olympiad competition each year from a given school. But if you're worried about recruiting 15 students on a team that's starting out, don't worry. Teams don't have to have 15 members. You could field a team with 5 or 10. 15 is just the maximum per team. And like I mentioned before, events cover a wide range of science topics. So on your team of up to 15 members, you probably will have students that will end up having an expert topic area with their partners. Maybe you have a couple students that are really interested in physics and they can focus on things like astronomy and circuits and machines. Or maybe you have students that are really talented and interested in chemistry. They can do chemistry lab and forensics and material science. And so collectively, as a team, you may end up with students who are specializing, but overall, you're going to be covering that broad range of science topics. And in a way, you can think of Science Olympiad tournaments then as like a track meet where you have long jumpers and relay runners and long distance runners and sprinters all on the same team. And at a competition, they're doing their events at different times, sometimes at the same time, but together their score is compiled for a team score. And so Science Olympiad is exactly like that. At our tournaments, different events are happening at the same time. Different students on the team will be competing at those different scheduled times, but together they're representing the school and earning a team score. We do award medals by event, so a student and their partner can be recognized for their work in an individual event. But then, like I said, team scores are determined by those individual event scores all added up. And top teams can progress to the next level of competition, whether it's from regionals to state or from state to nationals. The events and rules also change from year to year. So when our students come back to do more Science Olympiad the next year, it's different, even if they're veteran competitors. It always keeps it fresh for us, and different events rotate out every year. Students work on events in pairs, always. Like I said, Science Olympiad is a team event. And in this case, that means even in the events themselves, they're always working with a partner, or in some events, two. Students collaborate with their partners. They don't compete against them. They can talk, they can work together, they can study together, they can develop resources together. And their partners can be different for different events. So it gives them the opportunity to work with an array of students from their school on the different science topics that they enjoy. For each event, each team gets one entry or pair of students per event. So if you have 3 teams, you can send 3 pairs of students to an event. But if you have one team, you're only sending 1 pair to represent. If you field more than one team, those teams do compete against each other at tournaments. But that doesn't mean they can't prep together and talk together and support one another. It's just that they are competing for medals separately, so they can't collaborate in the event space. And this means that students have to be divided into teams before event assignments are made. You can't have a student from one team partner with a student from another. And if that seems a little complicated to figure out, don't worry. We always have coach support meetings throughout the season to talk through the ins and outs of developing a team and making event assignments and a schedule. At our tournaments, events happen at set times, so students are also limited in what they can do by that schedule. They can't compete in 2 events set to happen at the same time. So the planning on the part of the coach is really important to make sure that they're giving the team every opportunity to compete in every event. Here's a small snapshot of a tournament day to give you a little bit more context to what I'm talking about. And like I said, we give coaches support by having meetings almost monthly from the beginning of registration all the way through the tournaments to make sure that we answer your questions and help you to have your team be successful by scheduling students and giving them the information that they need. We have 2 classes of events. We have events that happen at a scheduled time that can be a written test or a written test that has some other component to it, like a lab portion or something like that. Those events happen at a published time that is unique to your team's number. So let's say that your team is assigned number 1 for a tournament, then you'll have your team competing in astronomy, entomology, and experimental design at the same time in this sample schedule, which means you couldn't have a student do more than one of those events. So you have to spread it out. But then at a different time in the next session, designer genes, material science, and rocks and minerals happen at the same time. So returning to my track meet analogy, hopefully you're kind of seeing what I mean. Things happen at the same time, but it's different students competing for each event with their partners. Now, there are some events, that's the second grouping, that are events you can schedule on behalf of your team. And these are usually what we think of as engineering or build events, where students are building something in advance of the tournament with their partners to then bring to the competition and test. This can be things from efficiency events made with balsa wood to programmable cars having to do a particular maze or route, like a robot tour. Or it could be a flying event where they have to build a helicopter or a plane that uses a rubber band motor. Again, those change from year to year, but those events require teams to collaborate with within the students, build something ahead of time according to the rules, and bring it to competition. And then coaches, you get to schedule when the team competes in that event. So there's something for everybody. We have our test events, we have our build events, and all of it is happening at one time on a tournament, meaning there's always science to see and engage with. Thinking about the broader calendar of a science Olympiad season. In September, that's when the national organization releases their rules. And like I said before, for divisions B and C, we follow the national rules, though we sometimes, okay, often post our own amendments to those rules on our website. So it's really important that you're always looking at the VASA website for up-to-date information on what we're doing. We also open registration for Virginia Science Olympiad in September. And we hold our first coach support meetings to talk about what registration means. How do you recruit a team? What's the commitment of a coach? We're here to support you from day one as you undertake that responsibility, or if you're a student, to give you that information as early as possible in the season so that you know how to approach your events. We usually encourage schools to think about holding a team interest meeting so that they can know what students at their school are interested in joining this team environment. And then October, November, we're looking at having coaches assign events to those student participants so they can start working with their partners, reading through the rules, and preparing for their regional tournaments ahead. We have a really great video about reading the rules on our website, and I really would encourage you to take a look at that once you've got that rule book that's released through nationals at the beginning of September. It really helps to understand what those events actually mean. And that's the first thing that they have to do, right? Is dive into those rules and talk about them with their partner. And the best place to do that is team practices. So we encourage coaches, once they've got their group of students and their event assignments, to begin those practices, building that team community and getting ready for those tournaments. And again, we still have those coach support meetings that will be happening to answer all the questions that coaches have along the way. December is when our registration closes because in January and February, our regional tournaments begin. We have our tournament preparation that starts right after winter break. Again, those coach support meetings to talk you through everything that you need to have your team ready for regionals. And then those regional tournaments happening in late January and in February all across the state of Virginia. In March or April, depends on the year, we host our state tournament. And from that state tournament, we have teams that can qualify for the national tournament, which is usually held at the end of May. If you're interested in starting a team, I encourage you to check out our website at virginiaso.org. We post tons of information and resources, including event-specific videos and other helpful guidance for build events, for written test events, tons of resources, both for coaches and students, and even some for mentors too. If your school already has a team, please feel free to reach out to your school to ask about how you can try out, get involved, or connect with the coach, and we can help you with that too. If you're a coach who's interested in starting a team, we have an interest form on our website that we encourage you to fill out so that you can get on our mailing list and know what's coming for the upcoming seasons and getting all the updates along the way. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to check out our social media and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube channel. And make sure that you check our website for registration updates. We hope you join us for the upcoming season of Science Olympiad.